Hello and welcome to the USFL draft pick. We're going to start off the very first pick. We had the Michigan Panthers. They beat out Pittsburgh. They made a last-minute rule, so if Michigan beat Pittsburgh, then they'd get the first-round pick in every single round. So, Pittsburgh needs a lot of things. Quarterback, wide receiver, running backs, cornerbacks, and defensive linemen. Now one might ask, wait, didn't Michigan get Shea Patterson in the first-round pick? Yes, they did, and he was a total and complete bust. They traded him around mid-season. No real production there. So, obviously, get a better coach than Jeff Fisher. But Michigan, they could also use a punter, kicker, quarterback, offensive line. Just all of those things would help out the Michigan offense a lot better. Now, number 2, Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh was a train wreck. The only good game they had was against my Houston Gamblers. What are the chances? In which Vantley came back with a fourth quarter win over Houston by 1 point. So, obviously, they weren't a good team throughout the season. They were smashed several times by opposing teams. So, really, they need a better quarterback. They need wide receivers. They need a running back. Their defense was mid at best. They had one defensive player on the All-Pro team for the USFL. All in all, Pittsburgh was just not a great team. Then, number 3 with the USFL draft, we have the Houston Gamblers. Now, the Gamblers are in an interesting situation. They have a quarterback in Kenji Bahar, but they also have Clay Thorson, who choked away most of their games last. It was infuriating watching them. Just fourth quarter, and we're choking. We changed the logo to a C instead of a G to embrace the culture. They had Isaiah Zuber, who was pretty fair throughout the entire thing. He was a great wide receiver. He was definitely better than the top half. We also had a couple other players that were okay at wide receiver, and then Mark Thompson, our running back Thompson played pretty well, but I'd say if I was Houston, I'd spend money on an offensive line first. There was a couple things. You can't put all the blame on the quarterback for Clay Thorson. He got sacked a couple times, a couple strip fumbles in the fourth quarter, and that happened several times throughout the year, so big problems like that just can be mitigated by having a better offensive line. After that, I'd say get a wide receiver and maybe a quarterback to help develop. Maybe at crunch time, cut Clay Thorson though. I don't think he added anything to our team. Then number 4 overall, we have Tampa Bay. Now Tampa Bay comes into an interesting position. Tampa Bay has a great team overall. They played well. And team overall, I mean just their quarterback. The team overall, was pretty bad. Tampa Bay, they could use better wide receivers. I didn't see a single defensive player on their all-defensive side of the football. So you're really going to help the defense, put in a better rush attack, better secondary, better mid, with middle linebackers and everything. They just, nothing really on defense about that team popped. Another thing, maybe on offensive line, it wasn't the most pressing other thing. Their quarterback was one of the top rushers in the league, so you don't really have to worry too much about the offensive line. Tampa Bay, though, I would say invest some money in a wide receiver and defense. Next up, we have the one, the only New Orleans Breakers. Now, the Breakers, I don't know if their quarterback Kyle Sloter is going to come back for a season. He only signed a 1-year contract with the Breakers. Maybe he might go to the XFL. I do know there's more money in that, so that might be something that he wants to explore. However, the defense was pretty great. Had a lot of players on the All-Pro team. I'd say one thing that I would change about it was just the quarterback room. Kyle Sloter played okay. He also played rather poorly at times. So maybe invest in a better secondary and then also get Kyle Sloter doing better. Then we have, with the 6th overall draft pick, we have, I believe it's going to be New Jersey. It might mean New Jersey or Philadelphia. New Jersey had a better record, which they didn't go as far into the playoffs. So I think New Jersey's going to get the number 3 situation. Cavante Turpin left for the Dallas Cowboys, signed a 3-year contract worth a lot of money. So I don't think Cavante is going to come back anytime soon. So if I'm New Jersey, what I'm going to do is just sign a good wide receiver back. Other than that, you had a great team. Luis Perez might go back to the XFL because he didn't sign a 2-year contract like everyone else did. So that might be something that you want to check out with New Jersey. Just get a better wide receiver. All in all, DeAndre Johnson played lights out. No complaints there against New Jersey. Then I would expect number 2 to be Philadelphia, because they went all the way to the championship game. Philadelphia, throughout the season, they had 2 main problems. One was their offensive line, and 2 was their quarterbacks always getting injured, which they both go hand in hand. So definitely spend the high draft picks on an offensive line. Make sure you get quality players there. I know last year their coach Bart Andrus wanted to go with just a lot of his old players from the spring league that he coached. So drop most of your offensive line. You had 2 quarterbacks go out with season-ending injuries, and both of them were pretty bad. Brian Scott went out in week 3, and then Case Cookus went out with a broken leg midway through the championship game. They did end up losing that 30-33. So that's just one thing you're going to need is Philadelphia as an offensive line. Very important. Then I'd say spend a couple big draft picks on a wide receiver core. Nothing against the wide receiver core. It wasn't where it could have been. No lights out players like Isaiah Zuber, Kavontae Turpin, and then Jonathan Adams. So maybe spend some good wide receiver picks. And then finally, just a little bit better of a defense. It played really well, but when you let 33 points get scored against you in the championship game, I know that it was a good game, but you need to limit that defensive push. It was a very takeaway offense. Their secondary was great. Their defensive line was not as good. And then finally, with the 8th draft pick overall, Birmingham. Now, Birmingham, here's what I think Birmingham needs. And it's going to sound a little weird, but they had a good team overall. They had 2 good quarterbacks with Alex Magoo and Jamar Smith. The running back with Bo Scarborough was an unstoppable running game. They had Victor Bolden at wide receiver. They had, all in all, just a great offense. Defensively, they had Scooby Wright. They had another good lineman that's not coming to mind right now. Their secondary looked great. The only thing that I would say Birmingham needs to have an even more sure game win, you might want to draft another quarterback. Jamar Smith and Alex Magoo look shaky at times, but either one of them really could step up for the other one at any given moment. Offensive line, that's just the one thing. Bo Scarborough played phenomenally. Give him just a little bit better of an offensive line, and you don't even have to have wide receivers. You can trade away Victor Bolden for a first-round pick next season. Birmingham looked beautiful throughout the season. They had the best team overall draft-wise. I think they had one of the best coaches in Skip Holtz. Quarterback room wasn't the best, but it was not the worst by any means. So Birmingham probably looking at an offensive line. That just help your offensive rush game just go that much further. So that's all I have for you today. There's no set, these are the drafts in order yet. You're probably going to see that a little bit later. But yeah, I hope you have a great day, and the Lord bless your soul.